Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. Thank you so very much for joining us for this wonderful opportunity to learn Shel Holtz's perspective on synthetic media. This is something that he's been thinking about for quite some time. He's actually proposed a few sessions, and I hope is going to be delivering this presentation or variations on it in many more scenarios and situations to come. For those of you who don't know, Shel is just a mensch, a guru, and a really wonderful human being, as well as being one of the top communications professionals in the world. Not only SMCP, but so many other certifications and awards. It's too many to share with you. If you're not familiar with his background, Shel produces a phenomenal podcast that's been going on for so long you won't even believe it, so I won't even bother telling you. For immediate release with Shel Holtz, you definitely want to take a listen there. But Shel's perspective on synthetic media is really important for the C-suite in particular to understand, as well as communications professionals. And this is going to be a really fascinating topic. I'm excited to hear more of it myself. Shel, come on up and say hello. How are you, my friend?
I am great, Chris. Thanks. And hi, everybody. Good to see all of you here, at least all of you who found the link to the alternate venue. Uh, really happy to be here, Chris, and really happy to be involved with the Team Flow Institute as well.
So sorry for whatever technical difficulties I created for us this morning. I will continue to try to work on that in the back end and see what the heck happened. But we are live on LinkedIn, so it is a LinkedIn Live. And I think that the best thing to do now is to have you take it away and let me step into the background so that you can talk a little bit more about introducing your subject and get into the presentation.
Sure. And I'll start with the presentation here. Hopefully, everybody can see that now. I should point out, as long as Chris brought up for immediate release, that it's not just me. I have been co-hosting this show for coming up on 20 years with Neville Hobson, who is based in the UK. We did our first episode on January 3rd, 2005. There were about 400 podcasts at the time, and none addressing PR and communications. So we are the first and longest running communication themed podcast out there. But we're here to talk about synthetic media. So let's get going with a definition first. So, what it comes down to is if generative artificial intelligence produced it, it is synthetic media. Synthetic means not natural, so it's something that was produced by a machine of some kind. That's what synthetic means. And everything that generative AI generates is some kind of media. So if it wasn't captured or produced by humans using traditional methods, it's synthetic. Some of the examples we see of this are deepfakes, AI generated art, text to speech and voice cloning, natural language generation. There's other stuff that is emerging, and keeping in mind that the first exposure that most people had to generative AI was when ChatGPT was made public in November of 2022. These are very early days. We are bound to see more things that we haven't even thought of yet. Most of the conversation that we see around synthetic media is terrifying. People are not generally talking about, or I should clarify, the media are generally not talking about the tremendous potential for synthetic media. And it is entirely appropriate that we look at the risks that we're seeing, especially in an election season. I have one example I will share of that a little later in the presentation. But this tends to generate a lot of fear among communicators when you talk about the potential use of synthetic media for communications. Isn't that stuff that we keep hearing about that is so dangerous and so fraught with all kinds of peril? And we'll spend a little time on the risks and what we can do about it. But what I really want to do is talk about how we can take advantage of this ethically and effectively in internal communications. And I want to start off, and I'm going to delve into more use cases and benefits as we move on. But just to get things kicked off, I want to share an example of a beneficial use of synthetic media. And this is personalization. And this is going to be a fun session. I have a lot of examples to share. Unfortunately, Restream does not play system audio. So I'm not able to play the audio on this and have you hear it as I'm hearing it. I have to play it through my laptop speakers. So I'm going to redirect my microphone on my headset to the laptop. So hopefully you can hear this. But let's get started. This is the CEO of Publicis. Publicis, as you probably know, is one of the world's largest advertising agency holding companies. They have about 100,000 employees, and they used synthetic media to create a personalized message from the CEO to every employee in the company at the start of this year. So what I'm going to do is play one entire video from this, and then I've got two examples where I've just excerpted the part that is personalized. But I want you to see what the whole thing looks like, and I'm crossing my fingers that you'll be able to hear this okay.
Bonjour, I hope you had good holiday and enjoy a well-deserved rest with your family and your loved one. 2023 was not an easy year for the world. But actually, looking back, we can definitely say that we achieved a lot as a group. We were number one on organic growth, in financial KPIs, in new business, in ESG, and guess what? We closed the year as number one market cap in our industry. Not bad, no? This was all made possible thanks to everyone's outstanding efforts. And to kick off the new year, I really wanted to thank you all personally. Yes, I mean the 100,000 of you. But finance said it was not possible. As usual. Up, not so fast. Of course we can. I've got this. What is this? It's me, your AI twin. But I don't have a twin. And AI? I don't trust AI. Well, technically, 94% of people think I sound exactly like you, look 10 years younger, and I speak so viele mehr Sprachen als du. Okay, you look pretty good, except for the hair. Anyway, let's move on. Eva, your hard work in 2023 did not go unnoticed. So much so, I did this. Mein neuestes Tattoo. Ich habe stundenlang Schmerzen ertragen als Tribut an Sie und all Ihre erstaunlichen Talente, Eva. Hey, Carla! No, wait, so is this the real Carla or AI Carla?
I don't know. What do you think? But I do have AI Carla here to help. Ava, Marcel tells us you like sports, right? That's why I'm climbing K2 for you. And also, this is where Archer can't get to me. And here I am playing tennis in Florida in long sleeves. Or am I in a pharma ad? Yes. Oh my God, you're really making me work here, Eva. Ta-da!
Carla, that's amazing. And Eva, thanks for everything you help us do in 2024. And now I'm going to hand back over to my sophisticated and debonair human twin, Arthur. Wow, I'm kind of starting to like AI. I couldn't have said it better myself. We wish you a happy and healthy new year. Bonne année.
So that's the full video. Now, as I say, I'm just going to show you two excerpts from two more of these to show you the variety that they were able to incorporate into these personalized videos that went to each and every one of Publicis' 100,000 employees.
Let's move on. Tony, your hard work in 2023 did not go unnoticed. So much so, I decided to put your name on my mug in tribute to you and your amazing work. Hey, Dave! Wait, so is this the real Dave or AI Dave?
Yes, it's the real Dave. Can't you tell? But I do have AI Dave here to help. Tony, Marcel tells me you like travel, right? Here I am in Uruguay. No AI horses were harmed in the making of this video. And now I'm auditioning for an aftershave commercial off Bondi Beach. Totally rad, man. No idea where this is, Tony, but it looks very dangerous.
Dave, that's amazing. And Tony, thanks for everything you help us do in 2024. And now I'm going to hand back over to my sophisticated and debonair human.
So one more, just to show you, again, the kind of variety that they were able to apply to this. And by the way, everything you hear the AI version of the CEO saying was simply entered as text into a prompt box. So that's how all that was created.
Yuri, your hard work in 2023 did not go unnoticed. 게으르게 세요 요침히 한내오래 우차인 가샤기 하이나 샤액상에 내려메 우차이 연어하세요. Hey, Nigel! Wait, is that the real Nigel or AI Nigel?
I don't know. What do you think? But I do have AI Nigel here to help. Yuri, Marcel tells me you like dancing, right? Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, John Travolta, Patrick Swayze. And now, for your entertainment, Twinkle Toes, Nigel Bass. This isn't dancing. Don't you know I suffer from motion sickness? I think the AI me is gonna throw up. My AI creative side. This is much better. Say cheese. Oh my gosh, what the?
Nigel, that's amazing. And Yuri, thanks for everything you helped us do in 2024. And now I'm going to hand back.
So you get the idea here. They actually were able to send each employee a personalized video, not by having the CEO record 100,000 of them. He recorded one and then sat as a model for the generative AI video tool that they used to create those other 100,000. Now, I'm not suggesting this was necessarily inexpensive. You have to consider the scale of this. We certainly couldn't do that where I work with 700 or so full-time salaried employees. But it does speak to what you can do in an organization with some resources. And by the way, this was so effective that there were employees who thought that these were bespoke videos. And remember, these are people who work in advertising agencies. So you would think that they'd be able to see what was done here, but it was so good and so effective that they thought that those were all original, that it was really just made for them. Not all, a few employees. So what are some of the overarching applications and benefits that we can use synthetic media for in internal communications? Well, we can do a better job of storytelling and engaging our audience when we can create stuff that isn't possible to create in the natural world. There are opportunities for improved efficacy and saving a lot of money. This is one of the things that I use it for. I'll talk a little bit about image generation later, but I am not spending money on a stock photo service. I never had a budget for artists, but I'm now able to have original art. I think that's an important point too. I'm not putting any artists out of work. We simply didn't use it before. And now that it's available through generative AI to create those synthetic images, I'm able to incorporate those, and they can be pretty amazing. You have the opportunity for developing training that is very innovative, training and development that takes advantage of this. You just saw an example of personalization and customization. You also saw in that language translation. Even the service that I use to do what I've done is I've uploaded 2 minutes of myself talking, and now I can enter words into a text field, and it would be me saying whatever I had typed in any of 200 languages that are available through that service in my voice. I don't speak any of those languages, but you have to consider your CEO gets up and delivers a talk at a town hall, and now you make it available in Portuguese to your employees in Brazil or in whatever language is spoken predominantly by the employees in an international location. You would disclose this. You would say, our CEO does not speak this language. We used AI so you could see and hear the talk he gave in English and actually hear it in his voice and look at his face and see his expressions, and as opposed to having it dubbed or subtitled or transcribed. Much more effective, I think. You can also use this for data analysis and insights, and overcoming the bottlenecks that we encounter typically when creating content. There are, I'm sure, many of you who have sat and stared at a blank screen, unable to get going, and you can use this for that. I tend not to do much writing on AI tools. I think writing is actually the least interesting thing that it does. But I will say, okay, I'm working on an article about X. I need to make the following points, and I'm struggling to come up with a lead. Please propose 4 or 5 leads. And it will. And none of them are leads that I use, but they all kickstart me. Reading them makes me go, oh, now I know what I'm going to do. So, just an example of overcoming a content creation bottleneck. I've also used it, by the way, to say I need to create an image that represents the gist of the following article. Please suggest what these images might look like. And it will give me text ideas for what the images contain, and I can turn those into prompts that are going to give me better results than just typing in the prompt without the recommendations from the AI tool. So again, I'm using these for artwork that will serve as the hero banner for articles. It's unfortunate. I inherited an intranet platform here where these banner images are required. If you don't have one, it puts up the gray image with the silhouette of a person in it. We can't have that, so we have to find something to put in those spaces, and the generative AI tools have made that a lot easier, especially for articles where photos of our projects or our people or what have you wouldn't work based on the nature of the article. Artwork where you wouldn't have used it before. Again, you're not putting an artist out of work if you simply never had the budget for art, but now you can produce it using AI and take advantage of that to make your content more compelling, whether it's for the intranet, for digital signage, for a newsletter that you're putting out, whatever it might be. Like newsletters, internal campaigns and initiatives, event promotions, education and training materials. The image that you see behind the text on this screen was created in a generative AI tool with a prompt talking about the fact that this was going to be a background image on a slide for a presentation about synthetic media. I've also used this when I have worked with artists to send my basic concept. I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. I have trouble making lines and circles. So, my sketches don't really work when I'm trying to give a graphic designer an idea of what I'm looking for. But if I can have one of the Gen AI tools produce it and then send that to the artist, they'll go, oh, I see what he's getting at, and then give me exactly what I'm looking for. By the way, the current options that are available for synthetic media are text, images, video, voice, and music, and we'll cover each of these. This is an article that appeared on the homepage of our intranet called Connect. And this was on April 1st, April Fool's Day. And it is an April Fool's article suggesting that we are acquiring a luxury treehouse builder. There are no photos of construction workers wearing their personal protective equipment working on a treehouse. So I asked one of the Gen AI tools, I believe this one was Midjourney, to create that image. I said, I need commercial construction workers in full PPE building a treehouse, a multi-layered treehouse in a tree, so that I could use that as the banner image, the hero image for this particular article. It did real well. In the middle of the article, I showed some of the tree houses that this company were supposedly acquiring have built. Commercial office space treehouse on the property of a high-rise mixed-use office and residential building, I think was the prompt that I gave it. And this is one of the results I got. Not bad, right? So this isn't a piece of art. Again, I would not have had the budget to pay for. There would have been no art if I didn't have access to these tools. Here's an article we did informing employees of new carbon-focused legislative and regulatory changes that our project people needed to be aware of. So I asked for an image that conveyed the idea of green building. Here's one we did during Black History Month, based on the results of our engagement survey, finding that Black representation at Webcore is not where we really want it to be. And we were talking about ways that employees can be allies and be supportive. And one of them was, basically advocating on behalf of Black employees. So I gave it the prompt that would serve the headline, "When nobody else in the room looks like you." I thought it did a great job there. We are looking to expand our expertise into mechanical engineering, mechanical, electric, and plumbing, MEP. So I needed an image that conveyed the idea of MEP. And again, the generative AI tool gave me exactly what I needed. This is all synthetic, right? It's not, a human didn't draw it. It's not a photograph. It was strictly based on a text prompt in one of the Gen AI services. Let's talk about video. Now, video is relatively new. It is in its earliest stages. What's available yet is not something that you could actually take and use. But I will say that one filmmaker who was currently looking at investing tens of millions of dollars in expanding his studio in Atlanta, this is Tyler Perry, suspended those plans when he saw OpenAI's Sora, which right now can only produce up to, I think it's a 20-second video. But when he saw what was possible, he said, I just don't think I need to build studio space anymore. That, I think, is extreme. In fact, I've read some commentaries saying it's extreme. This would enhance what a filmmaker does, not replace. But as an example, Sora gave, they shared this among several others. If you go to OpenAI's Sora site, you can see many of these. I'm just going to share one. But you can see what the prompt says here. It's a drone camera circling a beautiful historic church built on a rocky outcropping along the Amalfi Coast. And I'm not going to read the rest of it. You've probably had a chance to scan it while I've been talking. So let's take a look at that video that was produced 100% from that prompt. This is not video that was ever shot anywhere. This church probably doesn't exist. But this is what the generative AI tool produced in terms of video. Some of the other ones they have, one I really like is a drone shot along a typical street in a California gold rush town in the 1850s or something like that. And it even produced it in a sepia tone, which I thought was amazing. But that gives you an idea of what's available in video. But wait, there's more. This is an avatar. This guy doesn't exist. He is a fabrication by a company called Eli. They have dozens of these that you can choose from in different clothes and different settings. And you give them the text to read, and they will. So let's see what this one says.
Are you ready to revolutionize the way you engage with your audience? Synthetic media is the key to unlocking new frontiers in communication. By harnessing the power of AI-generated content, such as realistic video avatars like Me, I'm Cody, by the way, you can create compelling, personalized messages that resonate with your target audience. Imagine delivering complex information in a clear, concise, and engaging manner without the need for expensive video production. Synthetic media also allows for unparalleled flexibility and scalability. You can quickly adapt your content to different languages, tones, and styles, reaching a global audience with ease. Moreover, synthetic media opens up exciting possibilities for interactive and immersive experiences. From virtual product demonstrations to personalized customer support, the applications are endless. Don't get left behind. Embrace the potential of synthetic media and take your organizational communication to the next level.
So that's text that I entered into the prompt to create that. So you can imagine what the potential is here. You could have a human resources representative answering employee questions drawn from the employee handbook and other resources. You could develop training sessions, and all you need to do is pick your avatar and enter the text. This one, my friend Zora Artis, who may be here, I'm not sure, shared this with me, I think it was the day before yesterday. So I rushed to add this one to the presentation. This is Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. You can see that this is about a 15-minute presentation. I'm only going to share the first couple of minutes of this.
Why would I want to be interviewed by a digital version of myself? Well, great question. Read AI, introduce yourself to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today. I'm an AI-generated version of Reid Hoffman, his digital twin. My thinking and everything I am saying comes from a custom GPT that is based on 20 years of Reid talking and making content. So I've read all his books, watched his speeches, and listened to his podcasts. I think it gives me a pretty good sense of how you approach the world, Reid.
So first, I'm going to challenge Read AI with some questions to see what it can do and how good its content is in mirroring what I might say.
Then the tables will turn, and I will challenge you with some questions about AI and tech.
Of course, there's a second question, whether or not I'll answer.
Well, okay. Challenge accepted.
Let's get started. Let's take a real piece of work from me, blitzscaling. I wrote a 336-page book. And how do you explain it in one sentence? To a smart person, to a 5-year-old. Well, for the Star Trek fans, in Klingon. And as Jerry would explain it in Seinfeld.
Okay, condensing your entire strategy from a 336-page book into one sentence, and starting with the explanation for the smartest person in the world. Blitzscaling is a strategic acceleration of organizational growth to seize market dominance by prioritizing rapid expansion over efficiency, leveraging capital and network effects to outpace competitors in winner-takes-all markets, despite the attendant risks to scalability and operational stability. Now, for a 5-year-old, blitzscaling is like building the biggest tower super fast before anyone else, even if it gets a bit messy, so you can be the leader of the tower game. And now for a Klingon, blitzscaling pus viddelheg duj luchar glutavis tilhab a dochvam viol, hoc competition vipo qa market dahara. And finally, like Jerry, in a Seinfeld episode, blitzscaling, it's when a company decides to floor it on the highway of business, ignoring the speed limit, racing to be the first to that big golden market share in the sky, all while hoping they don't run out of gas or, hit a tree. It's like, who cares if we're burning cash like it's a bonfire? We're getting to the front of the line, baby. Efficiency? Please, that's for those in the slow lane watching us fly by.
Great set of answers, even if the first one reminded me of business school bingo, which I'm not quite sure I would have done that, but a very, I wouldn't say compact sentence, but a very long sentence with a lot of words. And, again, one of the things where you have a superpower that I don't, I have no idea what the Klingon stands for. So who do you think is a better video host, me or you?
I may excel as a video host for content with extensive data, frequent updates, or multiple languages, thanks to my ability to process and present information accurately without human limitations like fatigue or language barriers. However, for engaging personal storytelling and meaningful discussions, Reid, you're unmatched as a host.
You delivered it all kind of in a very, for me, I can give you all the long, straight scoop, but you do the emotions.
That is very helpful feedback for me to have. Thank you.
So you can see some of the applications there. By the way, Reid Hoffman is also an investor in an AI company. They have an AI chatbot called Pi, P-I. It's not like ChatGPT or Claude or Meta.ai or Genesis from Google. It is really designed to be more of a therapist for you, somebody to have a conversation with about things that are troubling you. And I've tried it out. It's actually pretty good. So with the video, again, your CEO can speak to global employees in their native language. I think that is a no-brainer use case for this, accompanied by the disclosure. We don't want to have employees thinking that the CEO actually speaks their language. You want to let them know that this is the AI equivalent of subtitles or dubbing. They can handle customer service or employee self-service. I developed a chatbot just as a test using a GPT builder. And what I did was I uploaded our 2 employee handbooks. We have one for salaried employees and one for hourly employees. I told the builder that it needed to confine itself only to material that is in these PDFs, not to use anything else that's in its training model, just those PDFs, to respond to questions in natural language that is friendly and yet still professional, and where there was a distinction between the hourly and the salaried handbooks to be sure to articulate that distinction. And the way it works now is that you just go into it and say, I have an employee who showed up drunk on the job today. What do I do? And it will tell you. You say, I need to take a sick day today. I'm not feeling well. Who do I notify? Not only will it tell you, but it will start by saying, oh, I'm sorry you're not feeling well, and end by saying, I hope you feel better soon. And it's not just taking words out of the handbooks, it's creating its own bespoke answer based on the information that's in the handbook. Now you extend that to the video capabilities, and now you're talking about having maybe an HR business partner or one of the avatars that's not a real person speaking the answer to the employee. These are the kinds of potentials that these video tools are giving us. You can generate voiceovers for product demos, explainer videos, and all kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, you may have a member of your training department who did it in English, but you want to make that same training video available in other languages. Piece of cake, right? Audio versions of articles in the author's voice. Again, images for article hero banners, video music beds using the AI generated synthetic music, product photos of what the product looks like at various phases of the design process. Let's talk about voice. Because the tools that are available for voice now are farther along than many of the video tools. What we see here is, first of all, accessibility. People with eyesight limitations can now listen to the article. This is just a piece of cake now. You've got something written, you can feed it to one of the tools that generates a voice version, text to voice, and then just put that icon on the screen and say, listen to this article. You're seeing this with some of the major media outlets. The Washington Post is offering this on a lot of its articles now, but you can now offer it on your intranet. Again, multilingual communications, training and onboarding, meeting summaries, FAQs. This is an article that I wrote for a LinkedIn piece. And what you're about to hear is this article fed into one of the tools that generates voice, reading this article. Now you'll note that it's not really good at a couple of words yet. You'll hear the word Adobe misspoken, but this is my voice. You submit a couple of minutes of yourself speaking, and it will produce your article, or any article you want, being read by you in any of the available languages that they offer. Disclosure is one of the hottest topics in the world of business adoption of AI. In many cases, disclosure is a requirement, whether the AI-generated content is being used internally or externally. But do we really need to disclose all AI-generated work? No, we do not. In many cases, AI is just a tool like Microsoft Excel or Adobe Premiere.
When I use Excel to crunch some numbers, must I disclose it? Back in 1967, when Texas Instruments introduced the first pocket calculator, did any business require disclosure by employees who used it for calculations?
Now, I don't usually put big pictures of myself on these screens. I did that because that's an AI-generated image of myself. I used a service where I uploaded 20 selfies and said, I need professional headshots, and it gave me 300 to choose from. I think that cost me $45. Another service, I just wanted shots of myself, and it included this one, which I, in my wildest fantasies, but
Offentliggørelse er et af de hotteste emner i verden af forretningsadoption af AI. I mange tilfælde er videregivelse et krav, uanset om det AI-genererede indhold anvendes internt eller eksternt. Men har vi virkelig brug for at afsløre alt AI-genereret arbejde? Nej, det gør vi ikke. I mange tilfælde er AI.
I'll stop that now, but clearly I don't speak Danish. I have spent a fair amount of time in Denmark with Intrateam and a couple of other clients when I was an independent consultant, and I love the language. I'd love to learn it, but this was that same LinkedIn article on disclosure of AI-generated material in Danish in my voice. So that's what's available to you. Let's move along to music as an example. I've been hearing AI-generated music for some time, and I always thought that musicians had nothing to worry about. It was god-awful. And now there is this service out there called Suno, and I created this song that was based on a text prompt. I indicated that I wanted it to be a rock anthem, and I think that's the one I'm going to share. I've done a few. I tried one that was jazz, just to use as a music bed in a video, but they'll produce just an instrumental, or they'll create lyrics from scratch and have it sung by two different voices. They give you two versions of each song you create. Right now, these are limited to 2 minutes, and it's in beta. It's free for anybody to use right now while they iron out the bugs, but let's take a listen. This is the jazz one. So that is bespoke. I do believe that I have the rock one here too. I won't make you listen to the entire thing. The other thing you can do, by the way, is paste in your own lyrics, and it will come up with the music and the voices singing the lyrics that you wrote. A couple of years ago, we were working on a video here, and I really wanted to use the song "We Built This City." Acquiring the rights to that was not only ridiculously expensive, but inordinately complex, given the fact that the performance rights and the creative rights belonged to two different rights organizations. So we ended up hiring a musician to write a song. Wouldn't have to do that today. I didn't have the budget for that, but had to spend it anyway. Today, I would just go to Suno and have it create that song. As those headlines that I shared with you earlier in the presentation suggest, there are risks and challenges associated with all of that, starting with your ethical considerations and the potential out there for misuse. I'm not terribly worried about this in internal communications because we're creating this for our internal audiences. I think we can let people know that we're using it, and it's not like we're going to try to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. So there's not much to worry about here, but I think that because a lot of us also work in external communications, we have to be aware and prepared for deep fakes and the spread of misinformation. There have already been cases of people answering the phone and hearing the voice of their CEO say, I need you to transfer money from this to this. And because it's their CEO, they do it large sums of money. And it wasn't the CEO, it was one of these services had created that voice based on voice that they had probably grabbed off of a YouTube video of that CEO delivering a talk somewhere. We're going to see the spread of misinformation and disinformation because these image generating tools and Midjourney in particular can make it look like a photograph. In fact, you can tell it that I want this to look like a black and white Kodak ASA 400 photo. You can say it's Kodachrome. It's I mean there are so many permutations that you can give in a Midjourney prompt to get it to look like what you want it to look like. But these photos are scary close to real photos. So there is the potential to manipulate public opinion and to erode trust. And I think there's also the potential for people who do or say bad things that get reported to claim that it was a deep fake and they didn't really do it. And there are probably people who would be willing to believe that. We also have legal and regulatory issues. Copyright infringement and intellectual property rights is at the top of the list these days. I personally think this is going to shake out okay because none of these tools have a database of let's take the image generation as an example. There's no database of all of the images that the model was trained on, and in fact most of them, once the training is done, they delete all of the images that were done for training. What they learn is patterns. And what they do is create original bespoke images based on your prompt, because all AI does, and now I'm talking not just about generative AI, but any AI, is predict. It doesn't think, it doesn't intend, it has no ability to exercise judgment. All it does is predict. And in this case, it predicts what you're looking for is this image based on the prompt that you gave it. And it generates it over iterations, but it learns the pattern. When it has seen 100 million images of cats, it knows what the pattern of a cat looks like. It has also seen the interior of Walmarts. It has also seen shopping carts. It has also seen spacesuits. So now you can enter a prompt that says generate an image of a cat wearing a spacesuit pushing a shopping cart through a Walmart, and you get a bespoke original image. It's not copying a cat out of a database and popping it into that image. It's creating a wholly new image. My view is, and I know that there are a few people out there who share this, is that you and I can go to an art gallery and look at all of the art on the wall. We can sit on our couch and flip through art books, the big coffee table books with the works of Van Gogh and Frida Kahlo and whoever. And we are influenced by what we see. And for those of us who are artists, and again, that's not me, we may produce art now that has been influenced by what we have seen. That's what these generative AI tools do. They just can't go to a gallery, they can't sit on a sofa. So all of those images have to be brought to it. But it is just learning from and being influenced by what it sees, and then applying what it has learned to its ability to create original material. Same goes for the video generating tools, for example, and frankly, for the text generating tools. There's also concerns about privacy and data protection. And I think we need to take all of this very seriously. From a communication standpoint, though, I think what we really need to pay attention to is the threat to our reputations if we are not careful about how we use this. if we are not disclosing in the right times, we can be accused of misleading people, and then they won't trust the next thing they see from us. They will accuse us and perceive us as being inauthentic. And, it's going to get increasingly difficult to tell the difference between what's real and what is synthetic. And we're going to have to help people with that. We're going to have to, internally, as we use this, we're going to have to educate our employees about all of this. I apologize if any of you are on the political right side of the spectrum. I'm not trying to take a position here. This is just a recent example of a generative AI tool used to produce a misleading image. This is not a real image. Donald Trump was not surrounded by a bunch of smiling black people, but this is being used by the Trump campaign to show how popular he is with the black population. Uh, this can be used by any candidate, national, statewide, local. It doesn't matter. You can put your candidate in any situation you want in order to make them look good. You can put your opponent in any situation you want to make them look bad. And we're going to have to be on guard for this. Now, obviously, we are not involved in politics, those of us in internal communications, but you can easily see how a competitor or somebody trying to manipulate the markets could create something with your CEO saying or doing something that is going to have an impact on people who watch it who aren't aware that it isn't real. So let's talk about some of the best practices for implementing synthetic media, and that starts with developing clear guidelines and policies about how we use it, how we don't, what we disclose, what doesn't need disclosure. I don't feel compelled to disclose that the image that appears in one of the banners, hero images on our intranet, was created using AI. I never disclosed that I got it from a stock photo service. I don't see this as any different. However, if I have put my CEO into that image and he wasn't really there, you bet your ass I would disclose that in the content of the article very, very prominently. It's more the abstract images that I don't feel compelled to disclose. But we need to have those clear guidelines and policies. We need to be transparent about our use of this, and we do need to disclose in those instances where it is important, where people's perceptions might be skewed, they might believe something that isn't true, and then we have to deal with the consequences of that down the road when they find out and feel that they were bamboozled. So we need to be very transparent and exercise discretion around disclosure. Our employees need to be trained on this at a number of levels, I would add. Not just trained to know that we're using it, but to be able to use it effectively themselves, as long as they adhere to those clear guidelines and policies. We need to collaborate with vendors and services and technology providers that we trust to help us with this. And fortunately, it's tends to be the big tech companies that have the money to offer these models. We've seen a number of smaller startups fall by the wayside because they just didn't have the capital. Just the computing power and the energy consumption to run these things is pretty spectacular. So it's Google, it's Meta, right? It's Microsoft. Microsoft is integrating AI, generative AI, the open AI, ChatGPT and related tools that they have invested, 15, $20 billion in so far. They're baking that into every product they have. It's part of Word. It's part of PowerPoint. It's part of if it's a tool that Microsoft offers, this is all baked into it now. You also see it in Microsoft Edge, their web browser. You see it in Bing. Bing used to be a joke, right? Yeah, do you search on Bing? Haha. Now Bing is producing better answers than Google because it will give you a one paragraph or a multiple paragraph answer in addition to sharing the links. We need to stay on top of this because the trends are going to evolve. The regulations and legislation is going to come fast and furious. There's already AI legislation in Europe that the EU has enacted. And if you're doing business or sharing content in Europe, better be aware of what those rules are because you don't want to run afoul of them. Yeah, I think that was it. So, again, I think that this is transformative for internal communications. We didn't talk about the text generation because I think we're probably all pretty up to speed on that, but I'll be happy to answer questions about that. The text that is produced by ChatGPT and Claude and the rest, Perplexity, that's all synthetic media too. It's just synthetic text. So if you would like to get in touch after this session and you don't already know how, my contact information is up there. But I'm going to stop sharing now and we'll open this up to some questions.
Hey, Shel, thank you so very much. We did get a bunch of questions and a bunch of great commentary. So let me go ahead and pull that all up and let's
Right.
start going through.
And I have a question first. I mean, were you able to hear the audio okay?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good.
The only one that didn't come through was the punk rock song because the modulation on the bass and the other stuff.
Well, go to Suno and create your own punk rock song.
Yes, very much so. And then, of course, have you seen the fake Oasis, the AI version of Oasis?
No,
AI.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I'm mispronouncing it. One of the interesting things about this, and this actually I think came up for me at least, when you were having the avatar deliver the certain communications that you're looking at, there was clearly a lack of humanness in that video. But that's just a matter of the tools themselves, because in the one that Reid Hoffman did, the digital Reid actually looked up to the left at one point in answering a question.
He nodded, he shrugged.
Yeah. So again, there's different levels of technology that mimic us in different ways, which is really, really fascinating. Sharon, you had asked early on the process to create something like this. I believe you meant the sort of corporate communications video that was done. Please validate that in the comments. But when you had that corporate communications video in the early part of the video from the French-speaking CEO,
yeah, from Publicis.
From Publicis, thank you. That was another question. What is the approximate process that somebody went through to create all that, you think?
Well, they didn't share that in the Advertising Age article that I got that from. I can speculate, though, that they used some proprietary AI tool. I don't have access to a tool that would allow me to do that. But they created the AI version of the guy doing what they wanted him to do. But then they used the text entry to have him say the words, the employee's name. They used the AI video tool to get the employee tattoo on the arm or the name on the mug or the name etched on the desk. And I presume that there were probably 4 or 5 other ways to represent the employee's name. And then same thing for the executives that they brought in to the conversations. So when you saw one of them skiing or dancing or, engaged in some parkour, they probably just said, use this person's face on a body doing the following thing. And the AI tool generated that. Then they edited it all together, probably, using a standard video editing tool. So again, at scale, this was probably a fairly complex and time-consuming thing. The thing is that it was possible. If they had actually done that for every employee, it would have taken all year, and they simply wouldn't even have considered it. So you don't need to go to that extent for personalization, right? If you want to send a message from your CEO to each employee, you'd be sitting at his desk, and you can have the standard part where he's actually speaking, and then cut to the AI version where he's talking specifically about that employee's contribution, and then cut back to the concluding remark that is generic for everybody. That would be pretty easy. And you could do that with tools like HeyGen right now. I had a video of myself produced on HeyGen that I used to pitch a session for a conference. And I shared that on LinkedIn when the session was, when they passed on the session. So it's pretty easy to do that.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the uses that I've got for HeyGen in particular that I've been playing with, and I'm not ready to publish it yet, but is actually translating the classes that I deliver live and the materials that I create into a more concise class. Because one of the things, as Shel, you know me quite well personally, I will sometimes ramble, I will sometimes go on a tangent, and more importantly, I'll get a cool thought in the middle of something. And so trying to get a 3-minute chunk of video focused without ums and ahs, without the tangents, without the mumble mouth and the other stuff is challenging. So I'm looking at using that to create my entire LinkedIn Live course from the text that I create from synthesizing my real classes and the written material and everything together to then edit that script and then feed that into a HeyGen in order to create that concise video and make sure it's delivered and that I say the precise things that I want to say. That is one of the other advantages when we're feeding the script into the AI, it will say that. Which we can't always account for in some of our executives who we are actually managing when they get on public stages. Anyways, so there was a sentiment over here about how amazing and terrifying that is that Jen brought up and a few other people. Just what is your perspective on the terrifying side, on the potential for, again, I know you shared a little bit about it, but I'd like to go a little further on like,
and right now, all of this or most of this is a standalone text prompt, text entry box. That's not what you're going to see in 2 or 3 years. This is going to be baked into software, and it's just going to be the typical way that we go about doing stuff. So, I mean, social media was terrifying. The web was terrifying when it was all new. This is just a new technology. It's a new set of tools. Does things that we've never seen before, but so is the World Wide Web. We'll get used to it. It'll take time, but you'll get used to it faster if you start playing with it, which I strongly urge. I also urge that you start following some of the Substacks that deal with this. Ethan Mollick from the Wharton School. His is excellent. He also has a New York Times bestseller about all of this, about the use of AI in business. There's a ton of good stuff out there. The Hard Fork podcast with Casey Newton and Kevin Roos doesn't always talk about AI, but frequently. And they make it really easy to understand. So the more you read, the more you pay attention to, the easier this is going to get and the less terrifying and more normal it's going to seem.
Yeah, well, one of the things I was kind of recognizing as you were speaking earlier is that the AI is just another tool in the video editor producer's toolkit.
Yep, exactly.
And so just in the same way we might generate, a caption to share a little comment like this from Alicia, will you share these slides post-webinar? It's just a tool that does something else. And actually, let me ask you that question right now. Did you want to share these, or are we okay just using the video because you're going to be?
I would just say use the video because the slide deck, because of all the video that's in it, is rather large. I could make it available in Dropbox, but I would say just watch the video. I mean, I'll be happy to put it up on Dropbox and share the link, but everything I do tends to be Creative Commons.
Yeah. In fact, maybe the simpler thing to do is just to assemble a list of the links that you shared of all the different videos, because I had a few people asking for that CEO video link. I shared the one to the read already, and so did a couple of other people. So we've got that in there.
The CEO one is in Ad Age and not on YouTube. You need to be a subscriber to Ad Age to have access to it. But I'll get that link for those of you who are Ad Age subscribers.
Awesome. And let's end with this one question from Eric. And I think a lot of people here, because, what is the capabilities of us being able to identify AI with technologies like AI with ourselves? I think with our own eyes, as we noticed a couple of things, we look in the beginning, we were looking for 6, 7 fingers or weird hands because it didn't know how to do hands well. Now you get that sense again from that one with the African American gentleman where he was it was something was off. It was an
Yeah.
uncanny valley sort of experience. But what are some of the ways that we're able to identify AI in video, and what are they working on now so that it's not so scary to everyday people being?
Yeah, it's a little difficult right now. There are some tools for identifying images. I haven't seen one for video or audio yet. There are companies that are, and I think Meta is one of them, that's working on putting watermarks into anything that is created one of you for their Gen AI tools, and you would be able to use a tool to see if there's a watermark there that would identify it as such. So yeah, there are people who are definitely very concerned about this and working on that. There are tools that are designed to identify text that has been generated with AI. My view is if you can't read it and tell, then you're not paying attention. I can usually tell when text was generated by AI. There are certain words that it likes. On the other hand, the better you get with your prompts, the harder that's going to be. Because as you give it more and more information and tell it what persona to adopt, what words not to use, and what words to use predominantly in its output, it's going to get harder. So having those tools and having those baked in elements that are going to make it easier to identify synthetic media, that's going to be really important.
Yeah, and well, I've been working with AI since I was a futurist at IBM, working with Watson every now and then. But what's happened in the last 18 months is just unreal.
Yeah.
And the capabilities of the technology in terms of how they've been advancing to create more real, lifelike sort of videos, like some of the ones you shared, is just incredible, and that's going to continue. One of the things that I was worried about that I want to share is that I spent a lot of time learning how to use some of those earlier versions. You don't use those tools in the same way. Midjourney, for instance, does completely different types of prompts and different structure to it. And the same thing's going to be happening here with video.
Yep.
While not a direct for internal communications resource, um, uh, David Berkowitz has created the AI Marketers Guild, and every week they're going through multiple tools that are emerging from the broader AI ecosystem. So I encourage you, if you're looking for more tools and production resources, AI Marketers Guild is going to be a great place for you to start.
I would also point people to Mark Dollins from North Star, who's just published the results of a survey of internal communication leaders around their perspectives and uses of AI.
Excellent, excellent. Shel, do we have any other closing thoughts we want to kind of send people away on in terms of advice or what they should go start with?
My advice is to use it. I mean, I use this. I would say I spend 80% of my time on internal communications on my job, and I'm using it every single day for all kinds of different things. And again, I find writing to be the least interesting thing. I like using it as a devil's advocate tool. I am going to make the following case to employees to convince them that this is the right direction for the company. I'm going to be saying A, B, and C. What pushback can I expect, and what potential arguments am I missing? And it's going to give me some stuff that I don't think is right. It's going to give me some stuff that I've already thought of, but invariably I find one or two nuggets in there that make me sit back and go, I have not thought of that. So that's use it, play with it, read
Yes.
about it. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to a communicator who knows how to use AI, because it
Absolutely.
makes you so much more productive.
It really does. It is a force multiplier, not only of individuals, but of teams. And
Right.
of course, that's what we're studying and working on here at Team Flow Institute, which is why I'm so grateful that Shel agreed to join our research fellowship and help us to explore these issues. We've produced one report already that's published. It's in our blog at teamflow.institute that talks about enterprises entering this space. And so we're going to continue to publish on advising how to go about doing this. Of course, one of the things that was talked about earlier and was raised in the comments was the need for revisiting policies and procedures once again, a very important element of this all. But as Shel was closing out, I think one of the most important things is to understand, find your sandbox, play with it, understand how you can learn it. In fact, more than anything else, look for a case study that might work for you and prototype it. Not just play because we can create a song in Suno or something else, but try to go ahead and feed it video of yourself, audio of yourself, and improve it. Because the reason why the Read AI thing works so well is because there's probably what, 10,000, 20,000 hours of Read on video and audio, and they were able to train it so well. And even Shell, in the one that you had in the speech, I noticed the upswing on your word excellent, how they closed it out, how it picked it up so well.
Yeah.
And of course, the more we can transcend that uncanny valley to make it feel human, the more people are going to turn to it and rely on it, and the more it's going to be a valuable tool in your quiver. So I'm really, really, again, grateful, Shel, for you doing this with us. My apologies for the technical challenges. I must have connected it wrong, and I wasn't able to fix that after we started. But thank you for helping me learn and for helping everyone else learn about this really important topic on synthetic media. Of course, you can find Shel all over the web and here on LinkedIn, but you can also see a site at holtz.com. It's HOLTZ. And I had a caption for that, but I don't know where I put that. So we're just going to go ahead and close out here today and look forward to doing these again in the near future. We're going to have many other of our fellows offering insights. We're going to do more of these on a regular basis. So for the next ones, we'll get it connected to the event properly and look forward to seeing you in one of these wonderful channels. This will be available as a replay on our LinkedIn site. It's on our YouTube channel already. It's going into my Facebook page and a bunch of other places. And I will be writing a summary of all this later today that you'll be able to read. Shel, thank you again so very much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. Take care.